The depth of our collective past has countless stories, including some that we have yet to find the ending to. These mysteries like who built the Great Sphinx, does the Ark of the Covenant exists, and where the lost city of Atlantis continue to intrigue and bewilder us. But today, we're skipping all the classic mysteries because you probably already know about them. Instead, we'll be diving into 15 lesser-known unsolved mysteries from the past that are haunting us to this day. Let's start off with number 15, the Red Baron's Killer. Manfred von Richthofen, more ferociously known as the Red Baron, was one of the most renowned pilots of World War I. He was a German flying ace. With 80 confirmed kills, his Scarlet triplane became a symbol of dominance, until April 21, 1918, when the hunter became the hunted. His plane crashed in a French field, and the most dangerous pilot of the war was gone. The cause of death is well documented. A single bullet entered the right side of his chest and exited the left. The real mystery is who fired it. The shot came from the ground, meaning it wasn't from the Canadian ace Wilfred May, whom the Red Baron was pursuing. The official report credits an Australian machine gunner, but with multiple soldiers firing similar rounds, no one knows for certain who pulled the trigger. Over a century later, the identity of the person who took down the Red Baron remains one of aviation's biggest unanswered questions. Number 14, the Lost Legion. The Romans were master record keepers, rarely letting anything slip through the cracks. So when an entire legion disappears from history, you know something is fishy. Legio Nona Hispana, once a celebrated force in the Imperial Roman army, vanishes from the written record sometime in the 2nd century AD, leaving nothing but speculation in its wake. Its origins remain a bit hazy, but the 9th Legion had been around since the days of the Roman Republic, taking part in Caesar's Gallic Wars and various brutal campaigns. Its last recorded station was in Britain around 109 AD, defending the northern frontier against Scottish tribes. After that, silence. For years, the leading theory pointed to its destruction in Scotland, possibly around 117 AD, but later findings placed it in Germania Inferior after 121 AD. Another theory suggests the legion met its fate in Judea during the Bar Kokhba revolt. Without conclusive proof, its final battle remains unknown. Number 13, the Mithraic Mysteries. Ancient Rome had its fair share of cults, but few were as impenetrable as Mithraism. Mystery religions operated on strict secrecy. Outsiders knew little, and even members carried their secrets to the grave. The cult of Mithras, which emerged in 1st century Rome, remains one of the most baffling examples. Its origins seem to trace back to Mithra, a Zoroastrian deity, though how much of the Roman version actually connects to its Persian counterpart is still up for debate. What is clear is its rapid spread, especially among Roman soldiers. Over 400 underground temples, Mithraea, have been discovered across the empire, revealing elaborate carvings of initiations, bull sacrifices, and cosmic imagery. What those symbols meant, however, is anyone's guess. With no surviving sacred texts, Mithraism left behind only cryptic clues, hints of a religion that once thrived, but took its rituals and beliefs with it when it faded into obscurity. Number 12, Livy's Lost History. Few civilizations have been as well documented as ancient Rome, thanks in large part to its historians. Titus Livius, aka Livy, dedicated decades of his life to writing Ab Urbe Condita, an ambitious 142-volume chronicle detailing Rome's history from its legendary founding to the rise of the empire. It remains one of the most ambitious historical works ever attempted, but tragically, most of it is lost. Of the 142 books, only 35 survived. The rest, covering vast periods of Rome's history, especially its shadowy early years, have vanished. This loss is particularly frustrating because Livy had access to records and accounts that no longer exist, making his missing volumes an irreplaceable gap in history. Part of the problem was the sheer size. The work was so vast that later scholars created abridged summaries, such as the Periaci, which became more popular than the original. Whether through time, neglect, or a simple preference for shortcuts, one of Rome's greatest historical records is now just a fragmented puzzle. Number 11. The Baiae Tunnels. In its prime, it was a lavish Roman resort town, favored by emperors and aristocrats for its natural hot springs and extravagant lifestyle. Over time, volcanic activity slowly pulled parts of the town beneath the sea. While much of Baiae has been studied, one feature continues to puzzle historians: the Baiae Tunnels. Discovered in the 1960s, the tunnels weren't designed for comfort. The entrance, barely noticeable, led into a cramped, dark, and unbearably hot passageway filled with the stench of sulfur. Despite the uninviting conditions, archaeologists Robert Paget and Keith Jones pressed on, believing they had stumbled upon the legendary Cave of the Sibyl, a site where a mystical oracle once made prophecies. What they uncovered was a vast underground network, complete with flooded corridors, hidden chambers, and abrupt dead ends. Paget speculated that the tunnels symbolized a descent into the underworld, inspired by Virgil's Aeneid. Others remained skeptical, like always. Whatever the truth, the purpose of Baiae's underground labyrinth remains one of Rome's most perplexing mysteries. Number 10. Who started World War I? Well, this is pretty haunting. For a war that reshaped the world in ways still felt today, pinpointing exactly who started it remains surprisingly difficult. The immediate trigger is well known: the assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand by a Serbian nationalist. But how that escalated into one of history's deadliest conflicts is still debated. Some historians argue Germany was the primary aggressor, eager to expand its influence. Others point to Austria-Hungary, whose ultimatum to Serbia set off a chain reaction of war declarations. There's also the idea that all the great powers, Britain, France, Russia, and Germany, were equally complicit, driven by tangled alliances and imperial ambitions. Some even blame Serbia, arguing that its nationalist movements played a larger role than often acknowledged. In the end, war wasn't the result of one nation's actions, but a dangerous mix of ambition, paranoia, and political miscalculations. A single assassination may have lit the spark, but the fire had been waiting to burn. Number 9. The disappearance of Flight 19. On December 5, 1945, a group of 5 U.S. Navy Avenger torpedo bombers, known as Flight 19, took off from Naval Air Station Fort Lauderdale for a routine training mission. They never returned. Somewhere over the Atlantic, the squadron lost its bearings, with the lead pilot, Lieutenant Charles C. Taylor, becoming disoriented. Radio transmissions suggest he mistook his location, believing he was near the Florida Keys when he was actually over the open ocean. With failing navigation and worsening weather, the planes continued flying until they presumably ran out of fuel and crashed into the sea. A Martin PBM Mariner rescue plane was sent to find them, only to vanish itself, along with 13 crew members. The Bermuda Triangle theory blames supernatural forces, while others point to equipment failure or pilot error. Strangely, no wreckage or bodies were ever recovered. The fate of Flight 19 remains one of aviation's most haunting mysteries. Number 8. The Sea Monster and the Sinking of UB-85. In October 2016, the wreckage of a German World War I U-boat was discovered off the Scottish coast. Marine archaeologists believe it could be UB-85, a submarine allegedly lost under bizarre circumstances in April 1918. According to German naval lore, UB-85 was attacked by a sea monster while surfaced to recharge its batteries. Crew members later claimed that a massive creature with glistening eyes and sharp teeth latched onto the vessel, causing severe damage. Forced to abandon ship, they surrendered to HMS Coreopsis, a British patrol boat that supposedly finished off the submarine. However, official British records don't confirm the attack, and some believe the story was exaggerated or completely fabricated. Another possibility is that technical malfunctions or combat damage led to its sinking. Whatever the truth, the idea of a U-boat meeting its fate at the hands of a sea monster adds an eerie twist to an otherwise routine wartime loss. Number 7. Blood Banner. The Blutfahne became one of Nazi Germany's most infamous relics, tied to Hitler's failed 1923 beer hall putsch in Munich. According to Nazi propaganda, the flag was stained with the blood of fallen members and became a sacred symbol of the movement. It was used in elaborate ceremonies, with Hitler personally touching new Nazi banners to it in a ritual of dedication. During World War II, it was moved frequently to protect it from Allied bombings. But as the Third Reich crumbled in 1945, the Blutfahne disappeared. Some theories suggest it was destroyed, either intentionally by fleeing Nazis or accidentally in the war's final chaos. Others believe U.S. soldiers took it as a trophy, but no solid proof has ever surfaced. Despite extensive searches by historians and collectors, this thing has never been found. Whether hidden, lost, or deliberately erased from history, one of the Nazi regime's most infamous symbols remains missing. Number 6. The Lost Colony of Greenland. For over 500 years, the Norse thrived in Greenland, enduring brutal winters and carving out a tough existence in one of the world's most unforgiving landscapes. Then, by the late 1400s, they were gone. Homes were abandoned, supplies left behind, yet there were no signs of a struggle. The colony didn't collapse in chaos, it simply faded away. Historians have debated the cause for centuries. Climate change is a leading theory, with the Little Ice Age making farming near impossible. Others argue that Inuit attacks or dwindling trade with Europe forced the settlers to leave. Some even suggest that a plague in Iceland and Norway lured them back to their homeland, where land had opened up due to high mortality rates. Strangely, no evidence of mass starvation or warfare has been found. Whatever the reason, the once thriving colony disappeared without a trace, leaving behind one of history's most perplexing unanswered questions. Number 5. The writing tremor epidemic of 1892. In 1892, something strange happened in Gross-Tinz, Germany. A group of schoolgirls suddenly found their hands shaking uncontrollably whenever they tried to write. Some even suffered from memory loss and altered consciousness. The following year, the same bizarre affliction spread to students in Basel, Switzerland. Doctors were baffled. There was no clear medical cause, no sign of infection, and no environmental factor linking the cases. Dr. Robert Bartholomew, a historian of medicine, later proposed a psychological explanation. The rigid and exhausting new teaching methods of the time were pushing students too hard. The mind was treated like a muscle, and relentless writing drills took their toll. This theory suggests the tremors were a subconscious escape mechanism, a way for overworked students to avoid the dreaded writing exercises. Whether stress, suggestion, or an unknown neurological condition was to blame, the writing tremor epidemic remains one of history's strangest mass hysteria events. Number 4. The Mad Gasser of Mattoon. In August 1944, the quiet town of Mattoon, Illinois, was gripped by terror. Reports spread of a mystery man spraying a sweet-smelling gas into homes, leaving victims nauseous, dizzy, and temporarily paralyzed. The first known case involved Aline Kearney, who woke up unable to move her legs, overwhelmed by an overpowering chemical odor. Her husband later saw a figure lurking outside their home. The press ran with the story, dubbing the attacker the anesthetic prowler. Panic spread, and soon dozens of residents claimed to have smelled the gas and experienced similar symptoms. Despite multiple sightings and a full-scale police investigation, no suspect was ever caught. Some believe the mad gasser was real, a rogue chemist, a disturbed prankster, or even a wartime experiment gone wrong. Others argue it was a case of mass hysteria fueled by World War II paranoia. What do you think? What was it exactly? Number 3. Monkey Men in India. During a scorching May 2001 heat wave, Delhi residents faced rolling power outages, forcing many to sleep on their rooftops. Soon, reports emerged of a strange creature, part monkey, part man, attacking people in the night. Victims, mostly men from poorer areas, showed up at hospitals with mysterious bite marks and scratches. Panic spread fast. 2 people even fell to their deaths, one from a roof, another down a flight of stairs, supposedly while fleeing the monkey man. Authorities, overwhelmed by the chaos, launched an investigation. A medical report commissioned by the police concluded the wounds were self-inflicted, fueled by mass hysteria and sensationalized media reports. Despite the ridicule these cases often attract, mass sociogenic illness is real. Fear spreads like wildfire, and once people believe a threat exists, the mind and body react accordingly. To this day, the Monkey Man of Delhi is an unsolved boggler. Number 2. The Flannan Isles Lighthouse Mystery. On December 15, 1900, the Archtor, a steamship bound for Scotland, noted that the Flannan Isles Lighthouse was dark. 3 days later, its crew reported the issue to authorities, and a relief ship was sent to investigate. Due to bad weather, it didn't arrive until December 26th. Upon arrival, the ship's crew found no sign of the 3 lighthouse keepers, James Ducat, Thomas Marshall, and Donald MacArthur. The flagstaff was bare, provisions hadn't been restocked, and the lighthouse itself was eerily silent. Inside, the gate was closed, beds were unmade, and the clock had stopped. Even more unsettling, the lamps had been refilled but never used. No bodies were ever found, and the mystery has fueled countless theories, from rogue waves and freak storms to more bizarre ideas like abductions. Over a century later, the disappearance of the Flannan Isles keepers remains unsolved. Number 1. The June bug epidemic of 1962. In June 1962, workers at a textile mill in the United States started falling ill. First came rashes and nausea, followed by dizziness and numbness. Within days, nearly 60 employees reported symptoms, all believing they had been bitten by June bugs infesting the factory. The problem? No insects were ever found. Entomologists scoured the plant and found no evidence of an outbreak. Psychologists, however, noticed a strange pattern. Most of the affected workers shared the same shift, worked long overtime hours, and many only got sick after hearing media reports about the plague. The true cause was likely mass hysteria, triggered by stress and the power of suggestion. Once workers began associating their discomfort with insect bites, their symptoms intensified. Though the June bug plague eventually faded, it remains a textbook example of how fear, when spread rapidly, can become just as contagious as any real disease. If you enjoyed this video, like and subscribe. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you pretty soon.